Hello and welcome to Living Your Best Life, a reality check podcast that seeks to jolt you into a realization, comprehension, and appreciation of some of the moments, thoughts, and practices that occur to us in our lives, which carry some meaning beyond the obvious. Living Your Best Life is meant to teach us some things, remind us, point to us, and most importantly, grow us as we realize that our lives are full of lessons and pointers if only we would watch, listen, and partake with open minds and hearts. Life is for living and life is for learning. Join me, Maggie Margaret Tuonge Tayambutkam Zumara, on this podcast as I stretch your imagination and help you reflect on various life's lessons and encourage you to live your best life. Hi everybody, how are you? I hope I find you well. I wish to speak about the issue of relationships, the relationships that we have, and this could be relationships with our friends, relationships with our co-workers, relationships with our loved ones, relationships with our community members, our church members, relationships with our neighbors, relationship with anybody and everybody that we relate and interact with. Now, the thing that I wish to bring to your attention is the issue of these relationships in as far as they are in a context where we wish to live our best lives. What should these relationships look like? What kind of animals should they be? What do we need to look out for, and what is it that we need to thrive for in a relationship if we are to move towards living our best lives? There are many things that we could look at when we are assessing relationships. There are many factors, many elements, but the one element that I speak to focus on in this podcast is the element of whether or not these relationships are good for you. Whether or not these relationships are good for you. One of the ways you can use to assess whether a relationship is good for you is this. A good relationship for you will add onto you. It will add onto you. Let me bring more understanding. What am I talking about? It will bring it will bring more to you in these ways, in these several ways. If a relationship is good for you, it can bring joy. It will add joy into your life. It will add excitement into your life. It will add love into your life. All these positives that you can think of. It can add direction into your life. It can add advice into your life. It can add counseling. It can give you healing. It can provide you with peace. And these are just examples of a few positives that relationships can give you. Relationships that are good for you, they are adding in nature. Okay, they add things. They give you something. But of course, the disclaimer to make here is in a relationship, the giving should not come from one side. The giving should be from both sides. It should be a two-way street. You give and you also get. You can't be the only one taking, and or the only one giving and giving and giving and giving. It cannot be like that. You need to be in a situation where you are giving and you're taking. It's a give and a give and take situation. Now I know that in life there are people that are takers and takers and takers, and they never give. And also, by the same token, there are some people that are also just givers and givers and givers. So I am saying, friends, that you need to have a relationship where you have a give and take situation, a give and take kind of exchange. Okay. Now, the reality check that I want to pose to you in this podcast is, what kind of relationship do you have? Are you just getting, getting? Are you taking and taking and taking? Or are you giving and giving and giving and giving? And like I said, the giving and take, the getting, the adding that you have can be a lot of things. It can be even time. A relationship gives you time, gives you consideration, gives you kindness. It adds onto you. Okay. So that is on the positive side. And you want to be in a situation where you are giving that and you are getting that. Okay. Now, on the flip side, a relationship that is not good for you, how do you know? How do you know this relationship is not good for you? There are many ways to tell, but one of the ways to tell is that a relationship that is not good for you subtracts. It does not add. It does not add. It takes away your joy. It takes away your peace. It takes away your relaxation. It takes away, it takes away, it takes away, it takes away, it takes away. It does not replenish at all. So that's what I'm talking about. And again, I will say the reality check here is, does your relationship subtract? Does your friend subtract and subtract and subtract and subtract? Does your spouse subtract and subtract and subtract and just take away and leave you with less and less and less? Let me bring more understanding. How does this subtraction play out? This subtraction can play out in a situation where maybe if it's a friend or it's a spouse or if it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whoever they are, every time you spend time with them, you walk away from the encounter with them feeling less than. You walk away feeling less confident. You walk away feeling less self-assured. You walk away feeling less happy. You walk away feeling less peaceful within you. That is how a relationship that subtracts plays out in your life. So, dear friends, does your spouse, does your friend, does whoever it is take away your self-confidence? They're always nipping away, chipping away at your confidence. And they leave you feeling, oh my God, I'm not as good as, I'm not what I should be. So what I am saying is, if the kind of relationship that you are in subtracts, it is not good for you. A good relationship will add. That's number one. And a good relationship will have a give and take scenario. So which kinds of relationships do you have that add? Which kinds of relationships do you have that subtract? At some point in your life, you need to take stock. You need to take stock. Which relationships are depleting me? And which relationships replenish me? Which relationships heal me? Okay? Now, I know that some relationships we cannot get away from. They're blood relationships, they're family relationships. Possibly you can't get away from them because of the way they are. They're permanent, so to speak. But here's where you can get around it. Did you know that some people may leave us with no choice but to love them from a distance? That's something to consider. Some relationships need us to make the decision to love some people from a distance. So, what am I saying, friends? I'm saying there are good relationships and there are bad relationships. And all of us find ourselves at one time or another in good relationships or in bad relationships. And as we go about life, most of us have a combination of those good relationships and bad relationships. But if you're aiming to live your best life, you need to make sure that you have as few subtracting relationships as possible. You need to assess and you need to make a conscious decision to eliminate where possible. And I'm underlining where possible. You need to eliminate or you need to decide how you're going to deal with relationships that deplete you, that leave you feeling less than, that leave you feeling like, you want to kick yourself, that leave you, drained. If a friend is always draining you, after she comes, after you spend some time with her, you leave that encounter feeling so drained. She's not adding. She is not adding. Now, here's the thing. Now that you know that in order to live your best life, you need to have good, sound, healthy relationships that add onto you, that replenish you. Now that you know that, what you do with this information is entirely up to you. What you decide to do with those relationships is entirely up to you. My particular job in this podcast was just to shine the spotlight for you to say, how can you tell whether a relationship is good for you or not? So, friends, go out there and do what is best for you in the best possible way for you, in a way that adds to your life and in a way that moves you closer and closer to the goal of living your best life. We have got to strive for best lives. We need to make sure that our lives are as best as possible. Thank you for listening, everybody. This was Living Your Best Life, a reality check podcast, encouraging you to harness life lessons and live your best life. Living Your Best Life is a reality check podcast that was brought to you by Silver Lining Motivational and Transformational Ministries. From me, Maggie Margaret Tuongi Tayamba Zamara. Till next time, bye for now.